Welcome inside our San Francisco studios. Mike Yam and Yogi Roth with you. The conversation around the Pac-12 Conference, always on Pac-12 Network, every Tuesday night inside Pac-12 football. The North Division shaping up to be fairly interesting. We knew the power, at least we thought the power in the conference was in the North before the season started, but there's one team, as you take a closer look at the standings, that really has a golden opportunity to separate themselves. Yogi, it's the team at the top as we take a look at Oregon sitting with a perfect 3-0 record, the only team in the Pac-12 Conference that doesn't have a league loss so far. It could happen maybe on the road in Seattle. Our Pac-12 Network's crew will be there on hand starting at 10:30 a.m. Pacific time Saturday morning. All right, you explain this to me here. Is Oregon, based off of what you've seen, you told me this a week ago about the Colorado matchup, toughest real test that defense is going to have to face all season long. If you go down the checklist of things that you wanted to see from the defense, Andy Avalos, I think, was able to check all those boxes against CU.
Yeah, hopefully they check we're all healthy coming into the game. I mean, that's the only one. Hopefully Javon Holland is all good and ready to roll.
Good call, yeah.
But, man, they were dominant. I mean, I think in this conference right now there's two teams that look like they can compete in the college football playoff. One being Utah in the South, and, of course, the Ducks, as you reference, here in the North. You're going to be there. Can't wait to hear your takeaway. But overall, Mike, they're real, and they're real at every layer. You know, when you go back and study them in that game, or really any game this year, defensive front, get after the quarterback. Linebackers, they get after the quarterback. Secondary covers well. Schematically, they mix it up so nobody can find a rhythm. You can go back to the first game of the year and the loss. That's straight backyard football. Mike Yam and your family on Thanksgiving, throw it up behind the second tree in front of the third and just go jump and make a play.
I'm the two-way player that's coming up with the tackles on the touchdowns.
As you should. But that's what that was, if we're going to be honest about it. So I think they're playing their best football, man. I really like this team. Jacob Eason has struggled against Pac-12 defenses other than the last week. In Arizona, they're not in the same conversation as Oregon in terms of their defense. So I think we'll see a simplified game plan from UW to make it clear and clean for Jacob Eason. But Oregon's going to play fast. They're going to play violent.
What worries you from a Washington perspective heading into this game?
Well, I think you got to score in the red zone. I think there's elements of that.
By the way, Oregon, if I'm not mistaken, you might know the numbers off the top of your head. I think they've given up 2 touchdowns this season in the red zone. I think 14 possessions in the red zone this season. I mean, that's remarkable.
Yeah, I think there's that, and then you got to win. You know, you're going to see some man-to-man coverage.
Sure.
You know, the element of their defense, you end up being on an island on the outside. So can Aaron Fuller and Andre Bocelli, can they win? You know, we called it last week. Puka Nacua getting an elevated role. I think that elevation has to continue because he's so special in terms of making plays and the balls in the air. Hunter Bryant, he's going to have to play his best game. So this will be one where you got 2 big-time staffs. The schemes are going to be on point. It's going to be about execution, and you've got guys that have played a lot of football. So I think it's going to be one of those that comes down to a spot throw, or do you pick up a blitz with Savon Ahmed, or is it a missed tackle? Like, those are the little things that I think will be the difference in this ballgame, much like a year ago.
From a national perception standpoint, this is the first week in a few weeks, just listening to some radio around the country, watching some other programs, where people start going, well, maybe the Pac-12 is not totally out just yet. Oregon still has a little bit of a chance. I think the people who are really paying attention realize that Utah is also in that conversation as well. But if Oregon's able to get a road win in Seattle against the top 25 opponent, I know they need help with other teams in front of them that need to lose, but we saw a little bit of that this past weekend. How much does a win against Chris Peterson's team elevate the conversation around Oregon being a playoff team?
There's 2 ways that Oregon doesn't get into the CFP. One is if there are 4 teams that are undefeated from Power 5 conferences, right? Which that could happen. Right? It could be Bama, Clemson, Ohio State, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
I'm not going to argue that up here. Like, you didn't win the game, you didn't go undefeated.
Sure.
But if there is a 1-loss team, the other thing they need to have happen is Auburn just to get another loss because of the head-to-head. If they are a 1-loss team that didn't go to a title, we could see the dramatic arguments from the South saying, well, what we played on here is different than a non-conference slate and a conference title. We'll get into that argument if we need to, and we'll jump all over it. But my point being, to your point, 1,000%, this is one of 3 steps that I think the Ducks have the opportunity to take. This against UW. On the road, they win it, firmly back in place.
Sure.
Win on the road against USC in a couple weeks, firmly back in place. Win the Pac-12 title, dramatically back in place. And then I think it's Justin Herbert, hop on a plane to go to New York City. And I think it's Oregon, begin the argument to compete against other one-loss champions. Because their loss, if we're talking best loss, it will be the best loss among any. Throwing it up in the backyard like I referenced earlier in Bo Nix's play to win the game. So I think they're fine. I think they're in great position. And I think what they're doing in the areas that aren't sexy, like Penei Sewell and this offensive line, even this defensive front coming along the way they have, Troy Dye, he's really playing a physical form of linebacker. Look out. Like, they're playing the best football now in the Pac-12 North, and they should go in based on what we've seen on film and go win this game.
The other thing they need to do is just win out, which means take care of business in Seattle this coming weekend. And I know Washington fans are sitting there going, you know what, we still got a pretty good football team as well that wants to continue to march in that top 25, sitting at 25 right now. But the Pac-12 conversation, not done. You can catch us on Pac-12 Network every Tuesday night at 6 p.m. Pacific time.